And now, an Envision Financial podcast with Luke Smith on Canberra's 2CC.
Luke Smith, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I could tell as I was speaking about Bathurst, your eyes were glazing over. You're not a follower.
Look, I like fast cars. That's not really my bag. So
That's all right.
I think what they do is amazing, though. It's to hurl the car of that size around that type of track at that speed is nothing short of earth-shattering.
I think the word you're looking for is insane.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's a crazy thing to do when you think about it.
It's an amazing level of skill that I think until you've been in a car that moves that quickly, you have very little understanding of the skill level that they just take for granted or have built up over time with a huge amount of experience.
Yeah, and that's the excitement of it.
That's it.
Absolutely.
And they didn't die.
Usually, yes,
Usually,
that's right. Yeah. Unfortunately, sometimes people have done in the past. But on that very glum note, let's move on to today's topic. We're here to discuss financial matters, of course, and the question we're trying to answer today is, how do I start a pension from my super fund?
Yes.
Now, don't be confused by the word pension. We don't mean Centrelink.
Correct, that's right. We're talking about getting to retirement age and then drawing an income stream from your accumulated superannuation benefits. And I think this is a really good sort of segue into what have you got to do to be able to access your super. So you must meet what's called a condition of release. That's a fancy way of saying, have you retired? I've ceased gainful employment. And over the age of 60, you just need to cease a form of gainful employment. Now, I stress a form. You could have two jobs. You could quit one. You could start a pension. You could keep doing other said job. No problems. So it's not total unemployment. It's a form of employment over the age of 60. And then what do? I often get asked, okay, so then we cash out all of our super and then we do something else magically with it. No. You leave it exactly where it is, in exactly the form it's in, and all you do effectively is you take off your accumulation hat. That means we've been putting money in over our working life, and you put on your pension hat. That says to the structure, hey, I'd like to start taking some out now, please. Why would I do that? The benefit of starting a pension once you have met a condition of release is that the superannuation vehicle goes from being taxed at 15% to being taxed at 0. You can sell assets in accumulation phase in super and pay capital gains tax. You can sell assets in a pension and pay nothing. So there are some significant tax benefits of understanding how you can start a pension and when you start a pension. Now, mechanically, you'd go to your provider, whoever your superannuation fund is, and you'd say, hello, I'd like to start a pension, and they will give you some paperwork. And some of the questions on that paperwork are, have you met a condition of release? Are you over this age? What would you like to take? Where would you like it paid? What frequency would you like your payment? Now, a big misconception that I'm faced with all the time is, I have to have it fortnightly because the word pension means fortnight. No. The word pension simply means the act of starting an income stream out of superannuation. The frequency is completely up to you and the offering given to you by your provider. If you want it weekly, take it weekly. If you want it fortnightly, take it fortnightly. If you want it once a year, take it once a year. All you have to ensure you've done is that you have taken between 4% or 5% or 6%, depending on your age. So up to 65, you've got to take 4% of the balance each financial year. And if you start a pension during the year, it's a prorated amount for that first year. If you're over 65, you take 5. If you're over 75, you take 6. So as long as you meet the minimum under the legislation for your age, all of the earnings inside the fund are tax-free up to certain limits. All of the money that comes out to you is tax-free, regardless. Any asset that you sell inside the pension is tax-free as well. So that's referred to as an account-based pension. If we split that and say, well, I haven't quit work yet, but I'd like to take some money out of super, that brings to the table the transition to retirement legislation. And that says that you can take between the legislated minimum for your age and a maximum of 10% each financial year. So let's say you had, so here's one I had this week. I have $100,000 owing on my primary residence, and husband and wife have $500,000 each in super, 160, 163. Quite like their job, love to keep working, no plans on throwing it in anytime soon, but the primary objective is to get rid of the mortgage. She could take 10% of her $500,000. He could take 10% of his $500,000, pay absolutely no tax coming out of superannuation, maintain their gainful employment, and clear their mortgage, saving them $5,500 a month. Lovely. Nobody said you need to quit. But at the start of that appointment, he said, well, I'm going to have to work for the next 5 or 6 years to get rid of this debt. How about we do this? So I want people to think about the word pension being a strategic tool, not just a funding mechanism for retirement lifestyle if and when you actually get to retirement age. Because if you think about your super as a tool, you might say, oh, I can take up to 10% out of my $500,000 account and I could put it straight back into another super fund and potentially claim 100% of that money as a tax deduction, provided I have room in certain thresholds. Great. Everybody loves a tax deduction. I might want to take a pension out of super and pay down the mortgage on an investment property that I'm going to go and live in. I might want to pay my grandkids' school fees, tax-free money. It's a lot cheaper to use tax-free money than after-tax wages. So if we think about the word pension and a pension structure as a strategic vehicle, as well as the funding source when you actually do retire, I think people can open up the door to a number of strategic benefits and potential tax savings that they could take advantage of well before they actually retire. But if you are sneaking up to that 60 and okay, well, yep, I am going to go, you want to be thinking in advance, okay, have I bolstered the balance of my account with everything I have available to me so that I can have as much of my money as possible completely tax-free within my pension so that I can draw on the earnings and the franking credits to fund the way that I want to live in conjunction with any other resource you may have. And another resource may be rent from a building. It might be rent from a house. It might be a distribution from a company, from retained earnings. It might be that you want to work 2 days a week and a pension out of super tax-free plus a little bit of work will get you exactly where you need to be for the way you want to live. So thinking about a pension as a vehicle that's really useful, not just the final end game, could actually open up some opportunities that you may not have thought of and just broaden your horizons in relation to the things that you could do as an individual or a couple.
Now, I'm going to rewind right back to the start, and you said something that made me think of a question. This might be a really dumb question, but I'm going to ask it anyway because I don't care if I seem dumb. It's probably accurate.
I'll keep it between me, you, and the people you're going to tell.
But what you just said at the beginning was people have this misconception that when it's time to retire, they have to take all their money out of super and magically do something else with it. And you don't have to do that at all. No. You simply transition from accumulation phase to pension phase.
Correct.
My question is, hang on, what if you want to take all the money out for some particular reason? Can you do that?
100%. Oh, look, as long as you've met a condition of release, that opens up the metaphoric doors to super. The doors are open. And then they say, okay, well, what do you want to do? I'm going to go down to the casino and I'm going to spin it on red or black. No. And you can take 100% of your benefits out of a standard accumulation fund over the age of 60, you can pull it all out with absolutely no tax. You can start a pension with some. You can pull a part of it out as a lump sum. Any manifestation that suits your situation is completely available to you. One thing you may consider, and we've spoken about in other shows, is prior to starting a pension, you might undertake a recontribution strategy where you pull money out tax-free, put it back in tax-free so that you improve the tax components for your children from an estate perspective. Or an extension of that might be, I've reached 60, I've retired, my super doors are open, I've pulled money out, I've put it into my spouse's super fund, again, taxable out, tax-free in, better for the estate. And then you might do the same for yourself. You might pull the money out and pay off some houses and go, right, I'm going to collect the rent from these assets as part of my broader retirement plan. Wonderful. Great. Happy days. I'm going to go and take that money and buy a llama farm. More power to you. So, yeah, you can do anything you want, but you have to first come back and say, have I met a condition of release? Yes or no? If the answer is yes, go forth and light it up.
Okay, so I could take all the money out and do something completely irresponsible with it. Nobody's going to stop me.
No, not at all.
I need to be protected from myself, Luke.
So do I. Yeah. Well, there'd be a Nike shop getting absolutely battered if it was up to me. There'd be Jordans flying through the window.
Okay. But in all seriousness, unless you have a specific purpose and a reason for withdrawing all the money, like you said, maybe to pay off some investment properties or something of that nature, if you don't have any particular goal like that, then transitioning from accumulation to pension is the simplest, most straightforward and perhaps most effective way to fund your semi or total retirement.
Exactly right. And all we ever need to think about is, have I met a condition of release or not? Yes, I have. You start an account-based pension. No, I haven't. You start a transition to retirement pension. And once you do meet a condition of release, i.e. I've retired, your transition to retirement pension becomes an account-based pension by default. Here's a catch. People start a transition to retirement pension and go, ooh, pensions are all tax-free inside. No longer. Transition to retirement pensions internally are taxed exactly the same as if your superannuation was still in accumulation phase. You still pay 15% tax on earnings. You still pay capital gains tax on the sale of assets. Now, they were tax-free back in the day, and then the government went, hang on, there's a loophole here. Right, we're going to shut it down, and they did. So it's really important that people get as much as they can into superannuation, because it is a very, very tax-friendly environment, and there are certain thresholds that you need to adhere to. But that's where you might be making deductible contributions to lower your tax. You might be making non-concessional contributions from an inheritance, a Powerball win, the sale of an asset. You might be adding money to superannuation to then start a pension. You might actually run multiple pension accounts to manage the tax for the estate, or for a range of other reasons. So I'm not saying you have to have one pension. I think, like anything, you need to have the right structures to suit your situation. And it might be that you run two completely separate accounts for very valid reasons. So the assumption that, well, two is bad is unfounded. Like people say, oh, well, you only need one super fund. Putting them together, like if you have two, that's bad. No, that can be absolutely wonderful for the right reasons, because there's a lot more strategically going on than just worrying about fees in a lot of situations.
Indeed, Luke Smith from Envision Financial is with me in the studio this afternoon, and today's question, how do I start a pension from my super fund? Luke, what are the key things people need to remember?
Yeah, so we need to think about when you're going to do it and how you're going to do it. So mechanically, it's pretty straightforward. You contact your superannuation provider and you would say to them, hey, I'd like to start a pension, please. And they'll say, what type? I'd like an account-based pension because I've retired. I'd like a transition to retirement pension, please, because I'm over 60 and I haven't retired. And then you can complete some very simple paperwork, and the questions will include things like, are you over 60? Have you ceased gainful employment? Where would you like it paid? When would you like it to start? What frequency would you like your pension? As we said before the ad break, the word pension does not mean fortnight. So pick what works for you, and then use the pension payment, which comes out tax-free over 60, either to fund lifestyle or to improve your tax position or to put it back into super. So you want to be thinking about, I'm getting closer to 60. How can I bolster my super? You might use a non-concessional contribution. You might use a deductible contribution. You might use the CGT small business concessions. If you're self-employed, there are loads of ways to get your assets into superannuation and then start an income stream. The tax benefits of starting an income stream, as we touched on, everything inside the fund is tax-free. Everything coming out to you is tax-free. The sale of assets is tax-free up to certain limits, which is absolutely wonderful. So there are significant administrative benefits of moving to pension phase, and some of them are not just to fund lifestyle. So you want to be thinking about, well, what's my situation entail? Could I use a transition to retirement pension to maybe fund super contributions to lower my tax? Yes, I can take it out of my super, and yes, I can put it back into another fund and claim that money as a tax deduction up to my allowable thresholds, and you haven't used $1 of your own money. So think about the pension structure as a strategic vehicle and make the most of it. If you're going to hold a lot of high growth assets if you bought CBA at $15 a million years ago, you want to be selling it at 100 and something, 165, 170 bucks in a tax-free pension environment than you do in an accumulation fund where you'll pay capital gains with a discount. So be strategic about the use of a pension from a capital gain standpoint. Be strategic about the use of a pension from a deduction perspective and a funding lifestyle perspective, but also then be strategic with your superannuation about getting assets in there before you start the pension. It could be from the sale of an investment property. It could be from the catch-up concessional rules. There are a load of ways to get money in there, but you want to be thinking with some lead time, because if you're sitting on 3 investment properties, you're probably not going to sell them all in the same year. So we need to then manage the tax and the contributions to try and get the best return you can as an asset changes its life cycle from I've made lots of money, now let's use that capital to generate a really good income. So be organised and prepared, and I think you get a really good outcome.
Indeed. Now, 2 questions for you, Luke. Question
Yes.
number 1, I believe you are looking for a team member.
I am, yes. I meant to mention something last week and forgot. So we have a position available at the moment for a bubbly individual that doesn't mind having a laugh and working hard. So if that's you, that'd be great. It's not actually a position where we need prior experience to a large extent, but if you can work hard and be part of a team and have a little bit of initiative, I'd love to have a chat to you. So you can call the office and give the girls your details and send through any information that they need. If you do want to make an appointment, I might have, at a push, 1 or 2 left for this year. 6260-4749. We've got envisionfinancial.com.au on the internet. We've got the strategy stack of Luke Talks Money on iTunes and Spotify. We've got the Envision Financial Canberra YouTube channel where we've got a backlog of all of our shows of you and I gas bagging along. And all of these types of pension strategies are in Smart Money Strategy, your ultimate guide for our financial planning, in all good bookstores, and a wonderful Christmas gift leading into the end of the year.
Indeed, and you preempted my second question, which was where can listeners get more information, but you already knew that.
Funny, I thought that might be coming.
Indeed. Luke, thanks very much. We'll catch you next week.
See you, mate.
Luke Smith from Envision Financial back with us again in the studio here at Radio 2CC at the same time next Friday afternoon between 4:30 and 5.